Do you believe in the existence of extraterrestrials?
Good morning, good evening, or good afternoon, depending on where and when you're watching this broadcast. I'm Thomas Fessler, my friends, and this is Disclosure tonight. Happy Friday, May 16th. You know what? Welcome to Friday Night Disclosure, my friends, and boy, has it been one heck of a great week, I tell you. We got a lot of stuff to get to, so on that note, let me go ahead and jump into the studio, and let me go ahead and find those pesky drums. Get them going. But where did I hide the audience? Where are they at? Well, I think I found them. Here we go. It's on Top Chat. I want live chat. Not just that. I want to find out who are the participants. Who am I welcoming in? Let's go get there, my friends. Who's out there in the chat? Remember, the chat is where it's at. Be part of the conversation. See what you know. Join the chat, my friends. It's a fun time. Who's out there? Well, I want to welcome in Amiga Rules, Anton Ghost, Brian Morgan, Carl, Joe Garrison. Remember, the chat is absolutely free. No money there, and we tell it's 100% guarantee if you don't have a good time. Let's welcome in Charmanian, also known as Teresa. Corporal Abe is here, along with Craig Smith, Eric Roth, and the Gurus. I see Evan B., Firefly, and Frazzle says. We've got Geraldine Durazio, JB Jan, Joseph Ferrantino, Kathy, Kelly Bro, with those piercing blue eyes. Good to see you, Kelly. I see you. Thank you for being here, my dear lady. Maritime Run Prepared is along with Megan Betts, Michael Huang, I should say, Mick, along with Mr. Grimlock. We got Nancy Brown, Necessary Dialogues here. Long time no see, my friend. Niles Guy, along with Paul Damon. We've got Retro Roman, Doomsday, and Simulation Channel. You're new. Welcome to the broadcast, my friend. Thank you for subscribing. Roni Deals here, along with Ricardo Segovia. Ricardo Segovia Jr. I think I got that, hopefully. Probably slaughtered it either way. Rainbow, also known as Jane, is here along with Sam, Stiff, and Forbes, along with Steve Hines, Super Unknown, and Syrup. Would you look at that? We've got the Chromosome Cowboy, Tom Clark, two midgets on a horse coming to us from northern Idaho. We got Vern Dude, William Underwood, and Woodrow Smith. What a great audience. I am so blessed to have such a great audience out here for everybody. On that note, let's shut that down and let's jump into the studio. Mike, Disclosure. Where's that at? How you doing, my friend?
Oh, I'm doing very well. It's Friday. We're off to a good start with the upcoming weekend, and we've had a hell of a week this week on UAP.
Oh, yeah.
Very interesting.
But the audience needs to know, has it been a fuck you Friday? Because I've had one of those. My back went out going out around 11 o'clock this morning. Actually, when I got up this morning, I went to walk and my right leg was hurting, went to go move and bash into the door jamb, and the lower back has been out today. It's been one of those wonderful days to try and get around. As a disabled person, yes, I got the blue Packard. I can put on the Camaro SS convertible, but my God, the pain today is just beautiful. Mike, how was your day?
Busy. I have end of the week list for the family of picking up things that I had to go out today and do before the show.
Yeah.
So I've been busy with that. We've had terrible weather here in New York City. It's been rainy and windy and miserable. So It's been a shitty day.
Yeah. I did get to go to the doctor and stop the Vietnamese grocery store. Got some good banh mi and a good, what do you call it? Noodle salad. Phenomenal food around here they've got. Great stuff.
Not bad. Did you ever pick up the tools that you went shopping?
Yes, I made it to Harbor Freight as well. Spent $81. There's one more tool I should have gotten there. You know, you're seeing so many different things. You just have to keep on throwing it in the cart.
Oh, absolutely. I'm guilty of that as well, my friend.
You'll get a pack of like 4 tools at Harbor Freight, higher quality than you'll get for like 1 tool at Lowe's.
Oh, absolutely.
And they've actually taken the actual wrenches and sockets and put them up against Snap-on. It's actually like right up there, like at a fraction of the price.
It is. That's why if you need something, that's the place to go on a budget. Did you pick up the ratchet wrenches you were looking for?
No, I actually didn't get those. Not needed just yet. It gives me a reason to go back.
Yes, it is, but then it becomes a money pit pretty quickly before you know it.
Yeah, but the money you're spending is like pennies on the dollar compared to anywhere else you're going, so it's like you're going to a sale that's always on sale. So yeah, you got to watch it, bud.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. I've had so many tools walk away out of the house with different contractors and handyman I've had around here. It's just trying to get the toolbox back to where it was.
Yeah, you got to make a list of missing inventory and work on refilling it. That's what I do.
Oh, yeah. It should be a fun one, though. Yeah, I can't. Looking forward to finishing that kitchen faucet. Oh, God. That'll be a fun one. But I also did get a bottle of WD-40 like we talked about.
Yes, very good. That's great for whatever problems you'll run into. It'll help out.
Yeah, I've got a problem, and I've got vice grips now too. So hopefully, I'll take care of it.
Yeah. No, your problem should melt away.
Oh, they should. Hopefully, almost as much as our dear friend Matt Laszlo. Hopefully not. He has been on a freaking roll, my friend, in D.C.
On fire.
Wow. There he is riding the D.C. Metro around Washington, D.C., heading back to the Capitol late at night, yes, because he has been even hanging out with Joe Khalil from News Nation lately.
Yes, they did the interview together. They tag team Representative Eric Burlison.
Tag team, like in wrestling or something else?
Oh, only they know for sure,
Oh,
but that's okay. You got to keep your sense of humor.
Oh, yeah. And we are serious about not being serious here, folks. So if you hear some different things going on, yes, we like to have fun, and we will crack jokes here, because when you're talking about such a serious subject, it's like going back in college or high school. You remember that, Mike? When you were going and you'd have the professors, they'd be up there just drone, and you're like, it goes in one ear out the other as you're thinking about something else. But you have the people who are entertaining and putting some humor into it. It kind of makes it more fun and engaging, and you remember this stuff a lot better.
That's true. You do.
Yeah.
It keeps you engaged. Sense of humor is a great thing for a lot of things.
So on to Professor Matt Laszlo. Wow. What a role he's been on, talking with Eric Burlison, catching up on a briefing that they had with, even in other news, Dr. Eric Davis has joined the UAPDF. That is a great addition. Yes. They may have lost Gary Nolan, but they got a legend in his own time.
Oh, absolutely. Hands down. Eric Davis is a great resource to have for any organization.
Oh, yeah.
I agree with that. Yeah. So that was a good addition.
Oh, yeah.
To the UAP.
Let me go ahead and bring up the announcement on this one here. Let me get to it bigger. All right, let's read it. I'm honored from a message from Eric Davis. I'm honored to join the UAP Disclosure Fund at this pivotal moment. By pairing rigorous science with steadfast advocacy, we can advance transparency on UAP and empower Congress, the executive branch, and the public to pursue the truth. How about that? Great message. What a great individual.
Oh, absolutely. He's chock full of information. And let's remind the audience that the investigation that David Grusch had conducted for 4 years and speaking with 40 witnesses, he was put on that path directly by Dr. Eric Davis.
Oh, yeah.
Not many people are aware of that. So he's a key feature of this disclosure movement, Dr. Davis.
Oh, he is.
Great addition. Yeah. He helped David Grusch a lot.
He did. He's a great guy. He knows a lot. He's the one who in the first briefing, the one with the irrigation circles that Lou kind of made a mistake on. He wants to bring out information. He jumped the gun, but you know what? Everyone makes mistakes. Hey, Mike, I've made plenty of mistakes, and I've owned up to them in the past. So you know what? Everyone's willing to go ahead and trip and stumble and get themselves up, brush themselves off, and continue with the quest.
Oh, absolutely. You and I have both made mistakes and stumbled along the way. You just take responsibility for it and you move on. That's
of course. Absolutely. So getting back to Matt Laszlo, talking about, actually, we had I guess we had the initial Scif meeting. I guess Eric Davis still has a security clearance. Good for him.
He does. Yeah.
And he met with members of Congress to give them some good inside information. But then there's also a blockbuster meeting. What was it with the FBI, Mike?
Yeah, in the morning, they had the Scif meeting with Dr. Davis.
Right.
But in the afternoon, they had a classified briefing with the FBI.
Right.
And that, according to Representative Burlison, that meeting was a surprise. It was professional. They provided new information at that hearing and provided videos of UAP that Aaro does not seem to have.
And they have an office where they've gotten a small office, relatively speaking, where there are multiple people researching UFOs, just like in the X-Files. Which, surprising, we've had that in the start of the show for like the last 6 months.
I know.
Or a year before they came out. Yeah, it's interesting to say the least. And they've got an office, and unlike people at Aaro, they've got footage of real UFOs that Aaro has never seen. More importantly, their people have actually seen some stuff.
They have. They've had agents in the field investigating, and they actually witnessed objects.
Now, if you remember, Aaro was supposed to have a team that would be deployed on a moment's notice to wherever there were sightings going on. It was going to be a scientific team to go ahead and figure out, and science and intelligence to go ahead and figure out what's going on as they're seeing it, to go ahead and gather intelligence to try and figure out what these things are in the sky. But unfortunately, Aaro's turned into more of a Project Blue Book lately than anything, where they're just, they're so far up the Nile, they're in Ethiopia.
Yeah, they just cover everything up, lock it down, and make sure that the public and the Congress don't have access to it.
Yeah.
Great. But the FBI seems to actually be doing good work and diligence and actually doing the job that Aaro has a budget to do, and the FBI does
You know
not.
what would be great is if the Congress, when they meet with Aaro, they bring with the FBI and they let the FBI ask the questions, because if members of Aaro are lying to the FBI, that's a federal offense, isn't it?
If it's an active investigation and they're asked questions and they lie, it is.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
And it would be an active investigation because they're trying to figure out what the hell's going on at Aaro.
Yeah, but at that classified meeting the other day, the FBI asked Burlison if Congress would be able to authorize them and provide a budget for the UAP working group that they already have been tasked to look into this. So it's official, and they could probably expand on what they're doing. And they also want authority to be directly involved. I think that Congress should move forward on that.
Oh,
I think they should get rid of Aaro altogether and give the FBI their budget.
Yeah, I would say defund Aaro. They are an inept organization. We've never gotten their report that was due at the end of last year. They're supposed to be giving us quarterly reports to the public according to their charter. Not only that, the second historical report has never been delivered.
No, it hasn't. But here's the problem that I see with that idea. Burlison already said, after he had both meetings the other day, that he would like to see the FBI and Aaro working together, hand in hand.
But didn't they also, Burlison and Grusch, meet with Aaro as well?
Grusch was not present because Burlison had said that other people in the task force had taken time off for being sick, and so did Grusch.
Right.
So maybe COVID is
4 different alien species that he knows of.
Yeah. Sorry about that. Yeah.
No, that's okay.
Yeah.
That's why they postponed the hearing. And they haven't rescheduled the new hearing because they don't know when Grusch is going to be back on his feet again.
Yeah.
How long it's going to take to recover.
Yeah. Hopefully he'll get over it. I know I got over it.
Yeah, but it wasn't easy.
Oh, no. And you know what? I'm still about 65% back.
Right, which means Grusch has a way to go if this just started with him the other day.
Oh, yeah. He'll be going through hell for about a week after he's on the Plaxivid. I was on that. But then after that week's over, you're kind of out of the weeds, but you still have a recovery on that.
Oh, you do?
Yes.
And this particular version of COVID seems to be nasty, as opposed to the previous ones that were rather mild in comparison.
Oh, absolutely, Mike.
Oh, I know. You've been going through hell, my friend.
Oh, I know. We'll get through it all, but at least we're here. We're having a good time. Now, where is this? Yeah, there's Tim Pool had an interview with Eric Burlison. Want to see part of the clip?
Yes, please.
Let's go ahead and do this. Let's throw on the banners of, no, not fair use, 2 of them, top and bottom. Let's go ahead and play this clip, and we'll see where it goes. Let's get to it. Video full. All right, here we go. Clip coming from Eric Burlison on the Tim Pool podcast, or the Timcast as he calls it. Wait, no, hold on. You need air audio, so otherwise you can't hear it. Here we go, folks.
What I expected him to say. But yeah, he said.
So who is this guy?
This is Eric Davis. Has been involved in the intelligence community since the 80s, right? So he's
for a long time.
And he first worked for Bigelow Aerospace. And then he went on to get work for the Pentagon and then CIA, and basically researching what they describe as crashed material.
So what Eric Burlison is talking about is his recent, the initial UAPDF briefing that had taken place. I believe that was last week, correct, Mike?
That's correct, Thomas.
Yeah. All right, let's get on with this. Here we go.
Retrieved crashed material.
And he was saying definitively they know of 4 alien species. Like, he's saying they're real.
Right. Now, whenever I pressed him and asked him, at least in that setting, he did not say that he personally has seen these, right? But he described the 4 different types of aliens, the Greys, the Nordics, the insectoids, and the reptilians that are commonly referred to in the UFO community. They would not just blend into the population.
No.
And that's at least, and I'm not saying I believe it. I'm just saying that's what I've been told.
What if they're just people from the future?
I think that's an interesting thought experiment, right? That what we're experiencing are future generations of humans who have mastered time travel. And if you master time travel today, wouldn't you want to go back and see what was going on?
Yeah, I got to bring this up really quick. This is a little tweet I've got here that was out there. Very interesting. In Hang Sandong, this is one of the few unexplained places on Earth, is linked to mysterious sightings of strange reptilian and gray creatures that stand on 2 legs. This is an ancient, if you want... Mocha, stop it! This is an ancient statue of a reptilian-style creature, and we have to say some of the times we can say this is not an artistic drawing or sculpture. This something probably represents something that they were experiencing back at that time. On that note, let's continue on. Here we go.
You'd have history. I would.
You'd have to.
I'd want to. I'd want to go back and see, hey, I want to see what the Pharaoh really looked like.
Okay.
I want to see what
confounds me, though, as someone who's not just a skeptic, but someone who just straight up doesn't believe in aliens. If that were true, would the powers that be in the intelligence agencies really just come right out and talk about it so openly?
They don't, though.
Well, we just heard that.
Well, this guy's former, isn't he?
Well, Eric Burlison was he part of the Was he part of the CIA, Mike?
Burlison?
Yeah, no, not Burlison. No. Eric Davis.
Yes, he absolutely was.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So we know the CIA is the source of the cover-up going for a long period of time.
Oh my God, that was the agency that was responsible for blocking the Wilson Davis. Admiral Thomas Wilson from accessing the material that Lockheed was in possession of, that he looked into, and at the time that the memo came out. Well, it was hidden for many years, but then eventually it came out after Edgar Mitchell passed away. Yep. And then that story was broken by our friend Richard Dolan, who brought it out publicly. But yeah, Eric Davis knows where all the secrets are kept and hidden. And he also had not just a scientist with classification, but he trained in intelligence as a security officer to keep special access program information hidden.
Yeah, he did.
He is very, very qualified to cover this subject.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a treasure chest.
Oh, absolutely, my friend. Absolutely. So let's continue on with this. Here we go.
Well, no, I mean,
You're never
he's
former
still-
intelligence.
Well, I mean, what's happened
okay,
is
fair point.
is we've had 2 hearings now, and we've had whistleblowers come forth, like David Grusch. And they have forced the conversation into the public arena. They forced the conversation. Then you have guys like Congressman Burlison and his colleagues who are fighting for disclosure. Without that battle, without that effort, you wouldn't be hearing about any of this. You wouldn't have these guys coming forward. You wouldn't have Eric Davis coming forward and making these declarations. I wouldn't necessarily call it a declaration. He was answering your question. But this is a new environment. We're in a new space now, post hearings, post UAP hearings, and so
I think
5 years ago I would have agreed with you, but that's just not the case anymore.
I think the reason they don't say it is because, just put it this way, how would you feel if you woke up and realized you were in a rat cage your whole life and everything you knew was just some stupid rat experiment for somebody,
Oh, well, this is getting into the conversation that came out this week, or earlier this week, Mike, on Weaponized podcast from whistleblower David Brown, talking about that
Matthew Brown.
Matthew Brown, who had stated that we're a resource for the non-human intelligence. A resource, I would call that, not like someone who's building something, unless that's what crypto's all about or what quantum computing is about, to access something in a different dimension, to let it come across, or potentially as they feed on our consciousness, or the humans themselves.
Right. That has been alleged.
Yeah.
It's interesting because now it seems like information like this is coming out more and more lately.
Yeah. In other breaking news, I've got a breaking UFO news alert coming in, believe it or not, from Matt Ford. He's changed up on Twitter. He's dropped all the political rhetoric, and he's focusing where his audience is about good old UFOs. What does Matt Ford have to say? Let me go ahead and bring up his latest tweet here, Mike. This is a good one. All right, so let's get to it. Breaking news. UFO debunker Mick West refuses to come down from a telephone pole to avoid Merrick von Rennenkampf on X. We have a screenshot from KTLA 5, breaking news, showing him stuck up on the pole and he won't come down. That's a good one. I actually need to go ahead and actually send Matt a tweet or even just a message saying, you know what, I appreciate you getting back to focusing on the subject rather than getting distracted with all the political theater.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
That just chases the audience away. It also may have cost him his position at the UAPDF.
Well, that's what rumor has it. He wouldn't stop because he loved his political theater, but apparently his political theater was more important than maintaining his position. At least now he's got some time. He can focus on meditation and finding that Zen and giving people hell like he does so well. All right.
Oh, yeah.
So getting back to the conversation about where were we at a second ago, we were talking about the meeting with Burlison and Aaro and how that went. Nothing new from there, really, is there?
No. Obviously not.
Yeah.
It's Aaro. What do you expect?
Yeah. We had the meeting that went on with the UAP caucus. Good to see that they're still there. They're still coming together, right? And then we had the meeting with the FBI, which seems to be the most explosive piece of news out there. Now, I know you put out some, you know what? Let me go ahead and, if you don't mind, show a clip here. Actually, you know what? Let's talk about that. Then I've got some more clips about Matt coming from the Weaponized podcast.
Absolutely. Let's do that.
Yeah. So FBI, they want funding. They found stuff and they've showed stuff that Aaro hasn't seen potentially. Do you believe them?
Correct.
I don't.
That the FBI had access to videos that Aaro does not? No, I believe that.
Yeah. I guess people just don't trust Aaro. Remember, though, all the information, Mike, that goes to Aaro under legislation, a copy of that information also goes to NASIC.
That's true.
Which is an Air
But
Force entity for intelligence and stuff. And it would almost be interesting to go ahead and get NASIC in a Scif along with Aaro to see if their information actually lines up, or to see who's actually playing hide the salami.
Right. But Aaro, again, released more UEP video footage today on their Twitter account.
Yeah. Would you like to see it?
And we can show it to the audience, but I'll give you a spoiler warning. It's an de-resed, poor, shitty video that you can't make much of anything out on, which is typical for Aaro.
Yeah.
The FBI has a lot higher quality videos that they showed Congress, unlike Aaro.
Oh, yeah. Let's go ahead. And as we're talking about it, Mike, I can put this to bring it up in the background. Let me go ahead and do that here. Yeah. Well, at least now they've figured out that, yes, they can go ahead and mask the information that they want to keep silent and quiet. So we've got something going on here. And look, we've got a dot.
Yep.
Moving around, that they can't figure out what exactly it is.
Right.
You know, we've heard Lou Elizondo and others talk about the giant triangles that came out of the water next to an aircraft carrier that were as big as a football pitch, and they shot up into the air past jet fighters that were flying around, and everybody saw it. You know, it's not like they're going to go ahead and give us something like that, are they?
Oh, no. We're not getting shit out of Aaro about anything to do with that.
Yeah. Interesting morphology on this craft. It has different zones of hot and cold. Unfortunately, they're not telling us what is hot and what is cold.
Well, of course not. Why would they?
Well, you would think they should.
Oh, I know they should. They're mandated to, but they never provide those answers. Never.
Yeah. So we can leave this in the back as we're going ahead and getting out there. Yeah, this is just something. We've got something. We can see clouds flying past. I can zoom it back out so everyone can get an idea of what you're looking at for the overall piece. They're not saying how fast it was going. Apparently, what they're doing is they're actually moving north. They're not saying how fast the craft is moving, what direction it's moving in, just in the camera. But it looks like it could. Well, this is in the Middle East, so it's definitely not over water. Probably not clouds going. Maybe it's the ground that they're seeing, but it's definitely, if we zoom in on it, it's a different morphology of a craft overall shape of a craft. Wait a minute. That actually there is almost looking more, let's go back a little bit. Almost cylinder shape.
Two craft.
What?
It looks like two craft.
Well, if it looks like two craft, that could be something to direct point like what we've seen before, Susan, in the Aguadilla, Puerto Rico sightings that were out before, to where what you actually get is based on the movement of the craft relative to the observer, you'll get something called duplication, meaning there will be one object that's there, but it'll look like there are two because the object itself has a gravitational bubble around it, and well, you can only see so much. I don't know if I've got that one video I brought down before, but yeah, it's an interesting sight. But that's a really good observation, Susan. It does look like it could potentially be two craft that are moving in tandem with each other. Yeah, and then it's gone. Nope, they're just trying. They're having a hard time keeping the camera on it at this point, trying to get it out there. This is definitely a FLIR image. Let me zoom back into it again. It's that same object. They're saying now they're changing maybe the spectrum of what they're looking at and to get an idea of what it looks like. I'm just trying to go ahead and keep all of this on the screen for you as it moves around. That is an interesting view of it there. One is definitely looking bigger than the other. Corporal Abe, go ahead. Your hand is up.
Isn't it similar to the CBP video where that one
the
craft
duck?
like split into two and then went into the ocean?
You're talking about the
Yeah.
Aguadilla, Puerto Rico. That's what I was talking about. And it actually didn't split into two. That's something that's an effect that comes from a gravitational field around a craft where it's duplication, where you'll get something that looks like it's one, but then it splits into two. It's the same thing they've observed in deep space, like through the Hubble and the JWST telescope.
Okay.
But good observation. It's also nice to see that after that Aaro had said, oh, yeah, we're not going to go ahead and release anything that's unresolved, that they are actually releasing videos of things now that are unresolved. It's a good move. But, besides just going ahead and releasing it out there, going ahead and, they could give us more information on this. What are we going to risk, Mike?
Nothing. Not a damn thing.
Yeah.
That's why after 80 goddamn years plus, we should have gotten a lot more than we've gotten so far. That's what's so frustrating.
Now, didn't it come out this week as well? Burlison was talking about this truly being a presidential unacknowledged special access program.
Well, at the meeting that he had with Aaro in the morning, the questions that he had asked were provided to him by David Grusch, who couldn't be present. And after he had that meeting with Aaro, he soon found out that this goes beyond the Department of Defense, and that the cover-up and special access programs go all the way up to the top to the White House and the executive branch.
Now, that's been something we've been saying well over a year here, Mike. We've been pointing out, saying it's in the executive branch. That's where the cover-up is. Yet we get all the people going off to our, oh, God, I need to be able to find this one here if we're going to talk about it. Oh, you know what's coming your way, Mike?
What's that? Oh, no.
Oh,
Susan
yeah.
Goff.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
I know she's here somewhere. I keep her picture just for such an emergency. Here we go. Susan Goff had come out and recently said that, when they're asked about these programs being in the DOD, she came out and said, no, there was nothing. None of this stuff was from the DOD. And you know what? It turns out it's potentially right, because it hasn't been in the DOD. It's been in the executive branch all this time.
And the questions that were asked to her were for the Immaculate Constellation Special Access Program. And she claimed that the Department of Defense has absolutely no knowledge of that program whatsoever. People, of course, assume that she was just simply lying, like she usually does. But the actual truth about it is she wasn't lying. That was a presidential unacknowledged special access program running directly out of the White House and the executive branch. So she told the truth for once.
Wow. Mark, put a gold star on the calendar for that one.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Who knew?
Yeah. But, something else that also makes sense, it's not just, you have to look at what belongs in what wheelhouse, right? In one wheelhouse, we've got the DOD, which would be researching potentially weapons systems, right? But if you're researching any kind of energy platform, that would clearly be under the auspice of the Department of Energy.
Which is also unfoilable, and they don't have to answer to Congress.
Right. And the only way you can get information out of the DOE is, I believe, you need to have the president sign off on it, the head of the DOE, which is, of course, put in place by the president, and you have the head of the CIA. Gee, I wonder why they have the head of the CIA.
Yeah, that's not a mystery, considering that the CIA has been at the heart of covering this up since Roswell.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Go figure.
Oh, yeah.
That's why we haven't gotten anything publicly on this to date. It's unfortunate.
It's almost would be like,
still being played.
Tim Burchett would, like he always says, it's a cover-up, Mike.
Well, you know what? I know a lot of people give Tim shit sometimes, but he's been right the entire time. I can't fault him on that.
And we've been saying for the longest time that where in the hell is Tim Burchett? Why isn't he talking? Because if anyone talks about this more, it's a cover-up. But you know what? Tim Burchett was recently on I believe it was Fox News. Oh, yeah, over on Fox News. Should we play the clip?
Yes, please do.
All right, let's get to this next clip here. That one is stopped. Oh, wait a minute. This thing is actually starting to look a little bit interesting here before we get to it. It's extending out a bit more. Same overall shape. We've been seeing duplication. It's either two objects, like Nunya was good to point out, or it's one object going in duplication, but it's showing some different shapes, almost like a little duck there. Not quite as much. It's got 42 seconds left. We'll play the end of this, and we'll get to the clip of Tim Burchett, who's demanding answers about, now they're trying to zoom in and zoom out to try and figure out what it is, changing their distance of their focus. It's completely out of focus now, unless it's the object going out of focus. All right, let's end that clip. It's at the end of that one. Let's get to the clip coming up of Tim Burchett talking over on Fox News. This is a nice 4-minute clip, so let's get to it. Here we go, everybody. You hide us and let's watch it in full screen. Here we go.
Who is leading the push for answers on UFOs. Congressman, good to have you with us. You may have heard at the very end of the debate, we asked a question about this to Governor Christie for New Jersey. There were sort of some laughs in the room, partly because of what he was saying. But here was his answer to the actual question. Watch.
The job of the President of the United States is to level with the American people about everything. Whether it was UFOs or this problem of education, and Tim's right, by the way, and I started this in 2010 by going right after the teachers' unions in New Jersey and drove them down to an all-time low popularity rating because they were putting themselves before our kids. That is the biggest threat to our country, not UFO.
You mean it's not about the universal access to buffets? I don't know.
Okay, Congressman raises the question, how much of a threat do you believe these UAPs are to our national security? Tell me.
Well, in the expert testimony we had, and thank y'all so much for having me on this and not playing the thing from X-Files when I come on. But in the actual professional testimony we had, these are sworn veterans, they all agreed that it was a threat. I contend if they had this incredible technology, which was described in the sworn testimony, that they could have reduced us to carbon a long time ago. So I'm not that afraid of them, but I am afraid of the fact that we've had 14 documented near-miss incidents with our $60 million aircraft, but worse than that, American pilots, American fighting men and women are put in harm's way. And our government on one side tells us they don't exist, but yet say this film that you're looking at right here, the Tic Tac video, not TikTok like the communist Chinese propaganda, Tic Tac like the breath mint, is showing a craft with no heat signature, able to fly underwater with little or no friction, come out of the water and fly. And you hear the pilots, they're laughing about it. And I've talked to those pilots. They're the best in the world. They couldn't keep up with it. They said there's nothing on this planet that has those kind of credentials. And I've been briefed in secure settings. I've been told in off the record conversations, I've viewed things that would generally, be headlines across the world, but yet we continue to deny that this exists when it's right there in front of us. And our Pentagon, though, oddly enough, on one hand is saying, I call them the war pimps, because that's really what they are. They're in the business of selling war to this nation. And
really quick, since you brought it up, Mike, Tim Burchett talked about UAP that are coming close to our fighters, right? Our $60 million fighters. Again, this is a clip I've got that I've showed many times in Malta. This is a UFO that's traveling about 14,000 miles per hour that I've got going. Come on. Really slow here. Let me go ahead and zoom this out a bit. Let me get it out right up to the point. The UFO comes down. The planes cross each other. Where is that at? It's going to come down. There it goes. Let me go ahead and zoom this in right now, right into the craft. Let's go ahead and show it frame by frame. As the jet fighter is flying over the city of Malta, we're going to see it. Here comes the UFO, the UAP. I know it's a little bit blurry, but it's a resolution for, 120 frames a second. It's going to come in, and it's going to pass within about 70 feet of the front of that jet fighter. It's going to level off and shoot off the screen. And I tell you, Mike, it's moving at 14,000 miles per hour. And when it's actually moving at that speed, the pilot would never see it. by the time the avionics on the plane actually saw something coming, it would already be gone because it's moving so fast.
Right, and I think you also pointed out that the human eye can only see up to, 1,000 miles an hour?
About 1,500 miles an hour at the absolute most. So this going at about 1,400, it was between 11,000 and 14,000 miles per hour. That was based on the craft. If it was going if the jet fighter was going at its max speed, which it looks like it would be, of about 450 miles per hour, or a speed around that much, that would put her right around 14,000 miles an hour. Just so people go ahead and say, oh, well, wait a second here. That is fake. Let me go ahead. Yes, I have the actual... I can't blow that up anyway. Yeah, this is actually the information on the video. We actually have the GPS locations of the actual craft, the time it was taken, the f-stop, the setting on the camera, and the device. So, Mike, this is real. And they always talk about jet fighters encountering UAP. This shows a jet fighter encountering a UAP. While it may, if you want to call it, Mike, be scary to a human if they saw it, this is like an Olympic runner coming up against a turtle. The Olympic runner knows exactly where they're going, and they're not going to go ahead and run into the individual, but you know what? There you go. It's right there. And it does happen. It's just that nobody at Mike ever gives any good evidence for it, and we've got the evidence right here. I'm going to start showing this a lot more, because this is something that truly... No, this is not a Dragon UAP, my friend Alex. This is something that's tumbling in place. This isn't something where every so many frames you see it, where you see a set of wings and it comes back. You never see frames like that. The Dragon UAP that have been seen in Marina Del Rey, California, are no more than insects. And trust me, I've looked at a ton of video from this particular air show and other ones, and after you see enough insects, you will understand what an insect looks like. This, my friends, is not an insect. Now, I do have... No, not that one. Is it this one? Here we go. This is one additional clip. You can see the kind of buildings off in the distance. Let me go ahead and bring this up a little bit more. You can see you got the cranes and everything that were distance on the back one. But what you have here at the tippy top... Let me get this across a little bit more and zoom it in a little bit. There you go. Would you look at that, Mike? There's one of those little dots that are there hanging above the buildings, just sitting there in the sky. And if we really zoom into it large, right?
Yeah.
If you notice, you've got something that looks like it's tumbling in place. Can you see that?
Yeah, I see it.
Tumbling in place. But what you're not seeing is something that goes like you've got a fly flapping its wings back and forth. And this is actually one of the 5 observables where you have craft that are hanging stationary up in the sky. It's right there if I zoom in on it, in winds aloft. And that's exactly what's going on. We've got them moving at 14,000 miles per hour. We have about 3 of them that zoom across, and when it starts, one of them that comes back and goes right for that jet fighter. And it's not an incident, because a lot of times you'll see the flies or the insects and they move on a particular case. Going back to this particular one, this is not that. This is something that has intention, that's going right for the front of that. And the funny thing is, you've got this UFO sighting that's out there, Mike, and it's going right in front of that jet. This is basically like saying, like, haha, you guys, you think you're the greatest? You suck.
Compared to them.
Compared to them.
The really startling conclusion you come up with about this video is that if you were that pilot in that jet fighter and this thing came screaming at 14,000 miles, 50 feet in front of the cockpit, you wouldn't see it. You wouldn't even know it was there.
No, you wouldn't. But they know it's there. And this was captured by someone who was on Malta for, I believe, the production of Love Island or something like that, a UK television show. And he was a producer on the show, I believe, and he was just out recording the show, didn't even realize what he caught until about a week or two later when we got the footage sent to us from our good friend Gary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing video footage.
Yeah. Again, it's being talked about, but nobody ever has proof of it, and we've got the proof. So let's watch.
You won't see Aaro releasing footage like that.
No, you never. And you know, even Ryan Graves talked about it with his organization. He didn't have anything. Nobody has anything, but we've got it, and we're going to show it time and time again just to make sure people know what the hell is out there.
Oh, what's the difference between what's real and what's not?
And it wasn't a Love Island cameraman. It was a Love Island producer who was standing right in front of this frickin' hotel in the little driving circle in front of it. I've taken the GPS that was in here. We showed it in a prior show of specifically exactly where that person was standing at that time. All these videos were recorded.
Correct.
Oh, no. Yes, Jason Brown, what are you going to get? It's an iPhone 11 Pro Max. Yes, it's pixelated because he wasn't zooming in. And more importantly, Mike, he does not have an iPhone does not have the lens required to get that detail. Be happy we got something in 120 frames per second to go ahead and show exactly what's going on.
Exactly. Good point.
Let me go ahead and just check here really quick. I think it's going to be in this one. All right. And here, tell you what, I am going to go ahead and share the lad. Oh, you're not going to give it to me. Okay, let me put it in here. I'm going to put this in the chat so any people want to go ahead and say, oh, that wasn't there, it's all fake, etc., etc. I'm going to give you the GPS locations of this, Mike. Let me put this in the chat right now. Here is the latitude. I believe it's a latitude. Don't give me first. Yeah, latitude. Here is the latitude in the chat and the longitude in it. And you guys can go ahead and look it up and shove it where the sun don't shine, because you know what, Mike? This aligns to the footage that came out of Ukraine. And as soon as I saw the video footage that came out of Ukraine in the past, I knew this stuff was real because it matched this exact same footage that I just showed everybody. They call these phantoms. They don't reflect any light. They're dark. They move at really fast speeds. And when you see them moving, they are popping along because they're going so fast. All right, let's get back to Tim Burchett talking.
Putting Americans in harm's way for profit. They are saying they don't exist, but now they're saying, well, give us extra money and we'll study this thing. And in fact, they've been taking millions of dollars to do that. And, you know, the Pentagon has never passed an audit. They lose billions of dollars. They have a large percentage of their assets are unaccounted for, yet they want us to give us more money to study something they say does not exist. I just say, let's have some transparency.
Okay. I'm sure they would take issue with your characterization of them at the Pentagon, but you're entitled to your opinion on that. Here is Mr. Grusch talking about, he's the Air Force veterans, answering another question in that hearing. Watch this.
Mr. Grusch, finally, do you believe that our government is in possession of UAPs?
Absolutely.
All right. You know, just a final thought. What do you expect will move the ball forward next on this issue so that everyone can have a better understanding about the 510 identified reports of these sorts of issues out there, sir?
Nothing's going to happen until it's politically advantageous to the people of this country. Wake up and say, show me the files. I would tell you to contact your congressmen and senators and say, show us what's going on. Quit with the stonewalling. Let's appoint this special committee that has subpoena power that can call these people in. David Grusch is a decorated veteran, and yet he's been outed as someone with PTSD by the intelligence community. We are over the target. They are afraid. And they're showing their true ilk right now.
Well, we've seen some acknowledgement on the part of the White House that they believe this is an issue for our military. So it seems like it should be getting the attention that it deserves. If it's nothing, the American people need to know, and if it isn't, we need to know that as well. Sir, thank you, Congressman Burchett. Thank you very much for being here today. Good to see you.
Yeah, it's Mike. It's good to see Congressman Burchett. It's been so long.
Yeah, it's nice to see him public and active after a while. He's been quiet for too long because he's frustrated like the American people are about the truth being stonewalled. These files should be declassified. The current administration made campaign promises that that's exactly what they were going to do, and we're still waiting. But he's right. This information needs to come out publicly once and for all.
Yeah. All right, we got a question. Who is Aaro? Aaro is the agency in the Department of Defense who was put together from the Senate and approved, I believe, by the House to go ahead and actually investigate UFOs. There's someone asking in the audience, Mike, who is Aaro? You know, we take for granted that our audience knows what's going on. But sometimes it's a good question because sometimes people are just joining this conversation like Cindy Calloway in the back. They're interested, they hear about it, and they jump into the conversation.
Well, you know what I think? You're right about that. But I have a feeling that we might be a little biased because we are so knowledgeable on this subject and others that we sometimes talk shop and forget that there are laymen that are listening to it and may not be able to always follow along. It happens. And I know I've been guilty of that. So it's definitely a distinct possibility.
Yeah.
So all they have to do is ask, and we will do our best to provide answers to any of the questions that they may have moving on.
Yeah.
Moving along.
Absolutely, Mike. It's one of those things we just keep on looking at. We keep on going back. We want to find the truth. We want to find answers of what's happening. But believe it or not, we actually have a clip here of good old Kirsten Gillibrand. We haven't heard from good old Kiki in a while.
No, we haven't.
She is such a beauty, my God. We miss hearing from her. And this is just Senator Gillibrand wants Transportation Secretary Duffy to receive a classified briefing on the highly concerning Langley AFB incursions, whether they're UAP or drones. You know what? He does. You know, the executive branch deserves to know. Let's see what our beauty Kirsten has to say about this, Mike. Let's jump to it.
Go right ahead.
Here we go.
So just so you understand the legislation, what Senator Cotton and I are trying to do is give authority to the Department of Defense for the four corners of any military site to be able to take them down immediately so that we can actually assess who they are, why are they hovering, because the incursions over Langley, you should brief yourself, you should get a classified briefing, highly concerning. Second, we then want to be able to track and trace that drone when they leave the base so that we know who's launching them, from what field, who owns the field, from what ship, who owns the ship. That's where we need your coordination. But it has to be instantaneously, like within the 30-minute window, or we will lose that opportunity to arguably take down or get information about an adversary.
Now, remember, that as we were just talking about that a second ago, Mike, that was part of Aaro's mission. Wasn't Langley going ahead and actually being, if you want to call invaded, incursions going on for well over a week? And they actually had to take their F-35s and F-22s and move them down to Naval Base Oceana.
Naval Base, yeah, that's right, Virginia Beach. 17 days, this was ongoing. They could not track or trace these objects over the military base. It is a disgrace, the level of national security violations that we were unable to do a damn thing about, and still is. And then, of course, let me remind the audience, the incoming administration at the time had stated that these objects, certainly the government knows what they are and what's going on, and should release that information to the public.
Yeah.
And because the previous administration failed to do that, or chose not to do it, this current administration promised to give the information the day they got into office. And all we ended up with is a lame excuse that the FAA have these drones registered and authorized, which is an absolute lie.
Oh, my God, Mike. It's kind of like saying first what they would say is we ain't found shit, followed by, but really what we're talking about is people who are a bullshit artist. And that's what we're dealing with, my friend.
Oh, unfortunately, we are.
Yeah.
And it's a shame
Yeah.
because stuff like this is, if it is prosaic, I can't imagine why
Yeah.
they would be hiding that from the public.
Yeah. Now, Mike, we do have a controversial question from Christopher Height in the audience called Bling Nugget. He said,
Okay.
Thomas, is Lou Elizondo a disinformation agent? His past 2 photos make me wonder. Well, I would
Well,
have
we
to.
can't
Let me answer
advise-
this, Mike, to start off. First of all, my personal answer from my assessment of this situation is absolutely not. Lou is someone who's looking at something and he's rushing to get it out there. And the problem is, Mike, he's not delegating and saying, you know what? Hey, guys, you know what? I found this photo. Or someone gave me this photo. Tell me, what do you think? Is it real? Is it not? And that's what he should be doing. He could take it to his close group of friends. But you know what? If he's getting people who are going and giving him stuff, put it out there in the public purview. If it's something that he thinks that could potentially be real, and let the community bring out the truth. And if they can figure out one way or the other, that way he's not going out there and saying, hey, I got this, and this is what it is. He's delegating to the community to go ahead and research. Because what do you call that, Mike? Crowdsourcing?
Right. That's
and that's
exactly
what he
it is,
needs to
Thomas.
do.
I agree.
Yeah.
Everything you said is right. You made valid points.
100%. So that's where it's at. I know people were giving Christopher a hard time for it, but you know what? It is a good question. It does need to be answered. And I hope, Christopher, does that answer? Hopefully that answer. Yes. Thank you, Thomas. That hit it home for him.
Excellent.
Yeah. You know, everyone makes mistakes. We've made mistakes in the past. Rob's made mistakes in the past. Other people have made mistakes in the past. Some people having a lot bigger mistakes than me. Thank God for that one. And you know, shit happens. So
you move on.
Susan Ford has her hand up in the back.
Yeah, look, I think, like Lou didn't misrepresent that photo at all. If you listen to what he said he'd just been handed it. It's an example of things that pilots are seeing and they've got no way of reporting it, etc., etc. He said that the photo was not vetted. He was upfront and honest.
No. All right. I believe that. Next question, Mike. Is it true that Lou and Doty were involved in a UFO disinformation project? Patrick thinks so. Absolutely fucking not. We're not here for clicks. We're not here to try and shoot for 100,000 viewers. No, we're here to bring out the truth. And if someone wants to go ahead and throw someone under the bus like that, that is just beyond what had happened. And even when Lou was working at Space Force, Mike, and he was there, and it was leaked by, who was it? Danny Sheehan. It caused a hell of a big problem for a lot of people. And Rick was never part of that. Just saying. And Rick has even said that that's not what he said, right, Mike?
That's correct.
Because I've been named in the conversation saying he was on his podcast. That's not what he said. And you know what? I wasn't part of the conversations that happened on the show. And if it may have been something that happened in the back during the show that was going on, it wasn't something we had broadcast. But you know what? When Lou was at Space Force, he was clearly not there on a disinformation project. If anything, he was there on an information project to go ahead and find the truth and educate people in our military and the DOD.
That's correct.
100%.
That's public information.
I mean, I was even invited at one time before everything blew up to come down to Space Force HQ in Colorado, in Crystal Springs.
Right.
But then things kind of went a different direction, and all that kind of cool stuff and promises never happened. You know, a lot of people talk about great things that could potentially happen, but you know what? No, he wasn't there for disinformation. He was there to go ahead and find information, educate. Like learning about you, like potentially an example would be learning about UFOs. They're coming into outer space from someplace else, and they're just basically appearing out of nowhere, they're going ahead in outer space. coming down to the planet and then moving and coming back into space and exiting our atmosphere, Mike, at the exact same location they left. I mean, they entered from. So imagine that. You've got a craft that goes down, does its stuff, shoots back up, and it leaves in the exact same coordinates where it came into it. That is well beyond human technology.
Oh, without a doubt. That's displaying a new type of physics that we don't understand yet.
Oh, well, technology and physics and technology, my friend.
Yeah. So
physics are same
us.
place, goes down and comes back up. It's just a technology that enables those kind of physics, which is something that, Matthew Brown talked about on the, Weaponized podcast.
He did. He talked about it. It's new physics.
That we are restricted by the non-human intelligence
of learning anything beyond our current level of understanding.
Right. It almost feels like then potentially are the debunkers and all these people who are looking at some of this stuff, Mike, being manipulated by the non-human intelligence to go ahead these things, to go ahead and try and prevent us from getting in that particular direction? It sure as heck sounds like it.
Well, there's definitely a suppression of facts that's been going on for decades now that you and I talk about all the time.
Yeah.
It's an ongoing thing.
Yeah, and if our audience out there has not seen, and I think like 250, 250,000 people at least, Mike, last time I saw, have watched the latest Weaponized podcast. And if you haven't seen it, watch episode 1, 2, or 3. 2 is a little bit kind of dry, but 3 hits at home. Let me go ahead and just play the trailer for part 3, and we'll have something to watch here and talk about
let's do that.
Here we go. Let's get into it. Down just a little bit. All right, here we go.
This is exactly what you did not want to do.
Correct. Have you gamed it out in your head? What happens next? What will likely be, assuming we go forward with this interview and make it public, and that right now we don't know that that's the case, but when it comes out, if it comes out, what happens to you then? What are the risks?
Well, gaming it out, there's more than me. More will come. I could say more if I wanted to. Hopefully this rises to a level of public attention that demands it be addressed in a serious way. I can't cause that alone. Other people will, but more need to come. And I think at this point, I'd like to say directly to the members of our military and our intelligence community, the time is now where you must choose whether you honor your oath or your orders. And if you have courage, you already know the answer. But for the rest of you, lead, follower, get out of the way. Get out of the way.
Interesting, Mike. You know what I like about this? This is basically saying, fuck national security. Bring out the truth.
Yeah, because he's committed already. He came out publicly. He was intending to come out publicly at the November 13th hearing, but that never happened. So now he had no choice but to come out with Knapp and Corbell.
Yeah.
And the reason that he's coming out publicly is for protection.
Yeah.
Because if he's out in the public and known for this story, and they find him committing suicide by shooting himself in the back of the head 10 times, it's going to be suspicious. So he did this for his own preservation.
And the audience is saying he looks like he's embarrassed. No, I don't think he's embarrassed. Let's go. You know, this is someone who's like, he's got adrenaline pumping. He's fucking scared.
He is. He absolutely is.
Mike, I've got the word for it. Somber.
Yeah, that's one way to describe it, but scared shit is another way.
Yeah.
And we're not just guessing at that. We know for a fact from inside information that Matthew Brown is in fact in fear for his life. That's not speculation. That's been confirmed.
People have talked about many times about the termination clause. Even Rick has talked about it in the past, and it's something that's out there. And yes, his lips were trembling, and I'd be afraid too because he's got a freaking, if you want to call it, I wouldn't say a sighting on his back. I'd say it's on his freaking forehead.
Oh, there's definitely a target on him.
Oh, target, yes, sir.
Doubt.
Yeah.
Yeah, bullseye is correct.
Yeah, bullseye, exactly. Hey, let me just play this again, this little bit here.
Military and our intelligence community, the time is now where you must choose whether you honor your oath or your orders. And if you have courage, you already know the answer. But for the rest of you, lead, follower, get out of the way. Get out of the way.
Yeah, you can see it right there as he's talking, that little bit in his, right there, his lips, his, let me zoom in on this and show this. His lip is fucking trembling. See that?
Yeah, for good reason, too. He has every right to be scared out of his mind about this shit. And what he's talking about, for the audience, just so they're aware, when he says you have to either honor your oath or follow orders, what he's referencing in that oath is an oath to support and defend the Constitution of the United States from all enemies, both foreign and domestic. It's an oath you take in the military and in law enforcement. And at that point, you have to decide, are you going to defend the United States and the Constitution, or are you going to follow orders that may be against your oath to protect and defend
Christopher
this country?
In the chat, good question again from Thomas. How can we protect whistleblowers a lot more? That answer would be, you know what we need? We need a lot more whistleblowers to come forward and say, fuck national security, fuck keeping this stuff secret. We need to bring out the truth. And that is what you call my catastrophic disclosure. And that is the only way it's going to move forward, because their controlled disclosure bullshit that's being proposed by Carl Nell for the third time in a row is never going to go anywhere. They're never going to give us that. They're never going to give us the truth.
Yeah, controlled disclosure is horseshit. It's not any disclosure at all. And I believe firmly in catastrophic disclosure. The truth needs to come out once and for all.
And that's Mike, why we were so hard on that latest position paper coming from the Soul Foundation from Carl Nell. It's bullshit.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And let me remind the audience again that when David Grusch, who was young and had a career in intelligence, had said the reason he came out publicly was to know and let the public know the truth, that we are not alone on this planet. He sacrificed everything for that truth to come out. So if he made that kind of a sacrifice, catastrophic disclosure is the way to go, because we're not going to get it from the government at this point.
Yeah. You know, someone says Trump, Lucy with the football, absolutely, saying Trump should address this, but can he? Yeah, he probably can in due time. But remember, Mike, we had our credit for the United States government, our credit rating, downgraded because our government is unable to reel in its uncontrolled spending.
Right. Which
Number
has been
one
the case
reason.
for a long time now.
Yeah. He's got a lot of stuff to deal with, and he's trying to get there. I think we'll get there, but we just have to give it some time. I've heard that, remember, if you want to call it, disclosure right now is in the hands, I would say, of a very competent person in the Trump administration, Tulsi Gabbard. She's got her hands full right now with the stupid statement from James Comey the other day. And a lot of other stuff.
And it wasn't a statement. He put seashells together that spelled out 4786.
To a degree, yeah.
That's what he did.
Well, opposite direction, but it was bullshit that went on, and there's a lot of, if you want to call it, leaks and other shit we have to deal with, and eventually we'll get there, because honestly, if there's a way for the president to screw with the world and everybody else, which he loves to do apparently, it would be bringing out the truth on this, because you're going to throw everything into a frickin' into a tussle.
Well, that being said, I think you're right. about that. It would definitely be the first time in history that the human race would have to acknowledge that we are not alone on this earth. And that would take everybody's attention off of the border wars and geopolitical bullshit that's been going on the entire time. But that being said, let me also make another point about part 3 of the Matthew Brown, Jeremy Corbell, George Knapp interview that we were just talking about.
Yes, sir.
What Matthew Brown also said is that when he decided to come out, he reached out to the whistleblower agencies that look to work with and help whistleblowers to be protected legally and come out and bring the truth out without having any repercussions. And when he did that, he found that all of the alleged public organizations that claim to take money from the public and provide that type of help, he said he got crickets. Nobody stepped up. Nobody worked with him. Nobody helped him. He had to resort to dealing with Jeremy Corbell and George Knapp to get the truth out. That is a horrible, horrible point.
Yeah.
If whistleblowers want to come forward that work in the government and they have knowledge that the public is not aware of, and they want to exercise their right as a whistleblower to bring the truth out,
go talk to Jeremy Corbell, because if you talk to anywhere else, they're going to go ahead and freaking silence you.
Yeah, well, obviously, it's not the way that it's advertised out there for people to come forward with the truth if they want to. There is no resources. There is no help. And Matthew Brown made that publicly.
But didn't even Matthew Brown saying this is something that's bigger than our government? It's almost like this international cabal.
He did. He said it's international, and even the United States government does not have control over the UAP topic. There are other factions that are directly involved in covering this up. But that wasn't the point that I was trying to make. The point I'm trying to make is I want everybody and anybody out there listening to this show to be aware that if they or someone they know have information that they want to bring out and they don't have the resources or the knowledge of how to go about doing it, we work with people who will directly be able to provide legal representation, guidance, all free of charge pro bono. Won't cost them 1 penny, 1 cent. And we can assist them like Corbell and Knapp did with Matthew Brown.
Right.
We can help anybody coming forward to bring out the truth of what they know.
Talking about bringing out the truth. Corporal Abe, you're in the back. You brought up a really good point in the chat. 0 administrations have disclosed and won't happen. Catastrophic disclosure, unfortunately, is the only way that seems realistic. You know, Corporal Abe, from what we've heard, it sounds like there is pressure from a non-human intelligence to keep us within this bubble. What say you, my friend?
I 100% agree, and I was just basically echoing what I've heard Mike say over and over again. What I've heard like Ed and all these others in the Disclosure Tonight community. We need to come together as a society, as a species, and deal with this issue. It just can't be left up to one government, the United States. That's just not how it's going to work. We've all got different bits and pieces of evidence globally, and until we work together, I feel like we're not gonna solve this issue. Or until the phenomenon wants to solve it or come out publicly. So,
yeah, it's kind of like unless we come together as realize we have this other force that's here, and as humanity, we all come together, irrespective of our borders, to go ahead and try and unite. That's what it's going to take.
I know a lot of people don't want to give up power, and they hate to hear the one world government, talk conversation. But at the end of the day, it's either going to be that or it's going to be catastrophic.
Yeah, along those lines, since I brought up Reagan, let me go ahead, and I've got multiple clips. Reagan just didn't say this one time at the United Nations. Reagan has said this multiple times. Let me bring up this classic clip here that I think, hits home what you were just talking about here, Abe. Let me go ahead and bring this up. Where is it? Add video, full guest. All right, here we go. Let's play a classic video of Ronald Reagan on many instances talking about the same situation.
I couldn't help at one point in my discussions privately with General Secretary Gorbachev, when you stop to think that we're all God's children wherever we may live in the world, I couldn't help but say to him, just think how easy his task and mine might be in these meetings that we held if suddenly there was a threat to this world from some other species, from another planet, outside in the universe. We'd forget all the little local differences that we have between our countries, and we would find out once and for all that we really are all human beings here on this earth.
And here's the thing, there's nobody in this laughing, making a noise. He's making this, and you could drop a pin and hear it like a frickin' Big Ben going off. Let's play some more.
Together. Well, I don't suppose we can wait for some alien race to come down and threaten us, but I think that between us we can bring about that realization. In our obsession with antagonisms of the moment, we often forget how much unites all the members of humanity. Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world. And yet, I ask you, is not an alien force already among us? What could be more alien to the universal aspirations of our peoples than war and the threat of war? I think maybe
almost meaning that potentially war and the threat of war is being orchestrated by the aliens themselves to keep us from focusing on them, to keep us battling against each other, right? Right, Abe?
Two things I want to highlight. War is a business, and it makes money. I mean, as horrible as that sounds, there's a lot of people that are in that business and keeping other people in the business. And then, I mean, like the recent revelations that were just dropped about the many different species. That's 5 different opinions that we have to worry about, so maybe there is a benevolent species, but then there's got to be the opposite out of the 5. So, somebody wants us to be stuck in this sick circle that we can't get out of, right? These wars just won't end, and it's ridiculous.
And you know what? And if we have a species that feeds on our consciousness and it needs us to die to go ahead and feed on it, what a better way to do it than have it people filled with fear as they're dying, and then they can harvest that energy.
Yep, that's the easiest way to do it, That is just the easiest way to get rid of us.
Yeah, but Abe, I can make a counterpoint to that. At the speech that Thomas had just played, which took place over 40 years ago, this was also during the height of the Cold War between the United States and Russia, going back decades. And in a private meeting, after he made that public speech, President Reagan sat down with Mikhail Gorbachev, and he asked him, he said, if we did face a threat to this planet from a species far above us, would Russia stand with the United States? And Mikhail Gorbachev told him, yes, Mr. President, we would.
And Mike, supposedly, really quick on that note, it was also potentially at that time that the president was under the knowledge that there was a giant ship like miles long that we had observed in Saturn's rings.
So looking at that, disclosure has happened for certain groups of individuals on this planet throughout time. And today, for public disclosure to happen, I don't see, just because of a new administration, regardless of who it is, I don't see it happening today or in the future because it has already come.
Well, you know what? For the general public, disclosure has started, but is nowhere near done.
Fair.
We're in the start of it. It's moved along. We've had, as Christopher Mellon has said recently, we've had steps forward, we've had steps back. We've gone back from where we were 2-3 years ago because of all the pushback that's going. But you know what?
I think ontological shock and chaos is one of the reasons that's keeping it back.
Bring out catastrophic disclosure, because you know what? Their ontological shot and all that can go on. All it is excuses of the reason not to bring it out. You know what? Sometimes you have to pull out the baby tooth. It's just hanging there. Sometimes you have to rip off the Band-Aid.
That's how I learned about it. I got ordered not to talk about it. I didn't talk about it. It tore me up for a long time. I mean, you got to deal with it. I'm still sitting here today, so.
Oh, yeah. If we can, let's get Susan Ford. None of your business. You have her hand up?
Yeah, during that time when they were having those discussions, didn't we have UFOs on both Russia and America interfering with the nuclear silos?
That was back 1967, not 1985, when this UN meeting took place.
But I'm sure, Mike, it never really, all the different things that went on never really stopped.
No, they did not. So both sides were well aware of this.
It's just something to point out. So they were both very aware of the influence of the UFOs at the time.
Yeah.
Right. Well, the reason I made that counterpoint to Abe was because I wanted to remind everybody as well that it doesn't matter what influences there might be for the impetus of war, humanity can still win out and override that and come together when we need to. That was the point of that meeting between Gorbachev and Reagan.
Yeah.
So I have no doubt that regardless of everyone pushing for us to be in eternal conflict, it doesn't mean we have to be. And I think catastrophic disclosure is the way out. It's the way to move forward, like Reagan said, which is why Thomas and I are looking to work with any whistleblowers that have information that they want to come out. We'll work with them every step of the way to get the truth out, because now the world needs it. The public deserves it, and I think we're ready for those answers.
What generation is it going to be that gets it, though? When are we going to get that? When are we going to be allowed to have that and come together as one species?
This generation right here, right now is where we're at. And we need to focus on this now and get it to, we've had more credible whistleblowers coming out. We've got Grusch, we've got Matthew Brown, we've got others who have come out trying to bring out the truth. And whatever it's going to take, if we can get a bunch more people like that to come out and bring out the truth, get us some real evidence on this stuff, there's no way they're going to be able to stop the truth from flowing, Abe.
Agreed.
That's right.
Agreed.
Thomas is right, 100%.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Oh, absolutely. Thank for responding to that, Abe. I saw your stuff in the chat, and I thought it was a great conversation to have. Let's watch this last little clip here of Reagan talking about it one more time.
Answer it this way. I keep, in my frustration sometimes, actually, if you count some of the things going on in smaller countries and all, there have been about 114 wars since World War II. But I've often wondered, what if all of us in the world discovered that we were threatened by a power from outer space, from another planet? Wouldn't we all of a sudden find that we didn't have any differences between us at all? We were all human beings, citizens of the world, and wouldn't we come together to fight that particular threat?
And I think, Mike, what he's talking about here is what scares the governments, because they don't want us all to come together, because it's not in their interest.
No, you're right. Like the military-industrial complex.
How are they going to make, I guess they could try and make money, but if we're dealing with a force that's so much advanced beyond us, we don't have a chance, and that's the reality of it. Because you know what, Mike, we have never had a chance. We have never had dominion of our skies, over our land, over our water, because they have always been there, and they have always been well advanced for what we're at. The only reason we've gotten to where we're at is because we've gotten crash craft. Now, people have said, we've gotten gifts. No, I don't think we've gotten gifts, Mike. I think we've been given little puzzles to go ahead for them to figure out. Let's see if they can figure out. Let's drop something in here. Let's see if the stupid humans can actually get into it. Let's see if they can figure out how the damn thing works. Of course we can't, because it's so beyond us. If anything, it's not a gift. It's a freaking test for us that's coming our way.
It could be that, or it could be that even with their advanced technology, they're not perfect. I don't believe they are. They could fuck up and make mistakes like we do. And even David Grusch, when he did the Jesse Michaels interview, he was saying that. He said that they are technologically far advanced than we are, but society-wise, not much different.
Yeah.
So if that's true, and these things are crashing legitimately, that's just the reality.
Well,
of it.
Mike,
and
the reality of these things crashing, they're not crashing on their own. They're not crashing because of us. They're potentially crashing because they're going up against another non-human intelligence race that's here that is competing for the same resources, which is us.
It could be. And even Matthew Brown made points about that so recently. Yeah, you might be right about that, but yeah, listening to Reagan's speech at the UN, it sounds a lot to me like a war cry. Like talking about the truth finally once and for all publicly and letting everybody know we have to be prepared. That's what it sounds like to me. And if that's true from back then, I don't think it's any different today. Not much has really changed from then to now, has it?
No, it hasn't, my friend.
Right. So I'm with you on that, which is, again, why we will work to bring the truth out every step of the way with individuals or anybody that has that. We need to bring this out so that people know what we're up against, what we're dealing with, and what it is that's been hidden this entire time. Because enough is enough already. Reagan said he was frustrated. You know what? So are we.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
That hasn't changed either.
Yeah. Really quick, I do have a breaking little news thing here. Let me go ahead and bring this out, a breaking UFO news alert. If there's any people in the northern United States that are up along the up along the border with Canada, and people up in Canada itself, we do have a significant solar storm that's been kicking. Not significant, but we actually have a measurable, good solar storm going on today, Mike.
Oh, wow.
Let me bring this up. We've got, this is coming to us from NOAA, and this is earlier today we had a relatively small aurora oval, and you can see it's been kicking up relatively nice this evening. More importantly, let me get that out of here. Let me get back to, where is that? I thought I had it here. Wait a second. Let me get out of here. There's another image of that, of potentially how people are visualizing this. Yeah, we've got a good uptick going on right now in the overall in the geomagnetic storm. We see we've got a increase going in the energy coming to the Earth. More importantly, if we take a look at what's going on, this is another visualization showing that Manitoba, northern Manitoba, and other places in the northern states, North Dakota, Minnesota, Michigan, etc., maybe some in Wisconsin even, Laura, is we've got a decent solar storm going on. Well, we know there's a lot of actual, weather going on, and this is the spring at this point in time, but if you have clear skies, look to the north.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Oh, yeah. It's one of the things I'm addicted to a degree, and it's something that I watch on a regular basis, Mike, just because, it's one of those things that it's going on. We're in one heck of a peak of the solar cycle right now, and we've had a bunch of different, if you want to call it, flares go off, or CMEs coming off. The sun in the last couple days, more on the way, so we could have a good amount of auroral activity coming in the next 2 to 3 days, in addition to what's going on now, because we also have an interesting, if you want to call it, what do you call that again? Coronal stream coming from, if you want to call it, the coronal hole that's going on in the planet, in the sun as well.
Yeah, there's a lot of activity going on.
Oh gosh, yes, absolutely. See if there's anything else going on here. Mike, there's been a lot of things going on. Is there anything, let me double check. I know we've covered a lot of stuff. We've got a show to go on tomorrow. I think we've covered a lot of stuff here today. Let me see if there's anything else that we need to cover today that we haven't covered just yet. Burlison, we've got Askapol, we've got stuff going on. All right, we've got one more coming from Dean Johnson. Something we appreciate for all the work that he does. Alice W., your hand is up, my dear lady. Alice, coming to us from the great state of Florida. Alice, what say you?
That's right. I had to walk away for a little bit. So did you guys talk about Rick Doty talking about Lou? I saw a
yeah, we did.
Yeah, we touched base on that.
Yeah.
Okay,
and honestly, from what I saw in there were some facial tics going on with Rick, with his face on some of the on some of the conversation. It didn't look right to me, because we've had Rick on here for countless hours to go ahead and talk about stuff, and it just didn't look right. It doesn't remind me of the Rick that I've known so well.
Yeah, he looked all worked up and kind of nervous,
Nervous, and there were some facial tics going on with his nose and other stuff, and he was a lot more animated than I've ever seen him before, so I'm going to have to call out and say something just isn't right with that video.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, thank you.
Oh, yeah. Thank you for that question, my dear lady. Now, getting back to this little clip here about coming from Dean Johnson over on X. He's a great resource on this stuff. Let me get to it. Where is it at? All right. Over on X. Aaros focus on DOD and defense and those agencies and what can be reported to Congress. But a lot of UAP related as at the White House level. That's what we've been talking about for years here, folks. They're finally catching up to us. Where there's programs that are not required to report to Congress. Representative Eric Burlison in Missouri to Matt Laszlo on May 15th. But Congress in 2022 enacted 50 USC 3348A requiring notice to the 4 top congressional leaders of any protected program established at the direction of the president. This being in addition to the laws requiring DOD, IC, DOE, and other agencies to notify designated lawmakers about special access programs. So this is really interesting, Mike, that was uncovered by Dean Johnson. And it's really, it shows that if there are these presidential unacknowledged special access programs, they're illegal because they have to bring in the majority leader of the Senate, minority leader of the Senate, the Speaker of the House of Representatives, and the minority leader of the House of Representatives. Now, I will say completely, those 4 people are not completely not corrupt. They're easily controlled, I would say, Mike. So even if it was potentially disclosed to them, there is a there's a high percentage chance that they would keep their mouth shut and never say anything.
Yeah, you're right. I agree with that. 100%.
Yeah. It's one of those. Correct. It's one of those things that we go ahead and take a look at and understand and say, hold on a second, what's happening here? But this is just the reality we're all dealing with now. Interesting clip, Mike. We could bring this up here and dig into it a bit more. We've got an interesting statement about alien investigator Jon Stewart. Let me bring it up. We know some people really love him and everything. We've always been a little bit questionable about the ex-professional wrestler turned politician. Let me go ahead and bring this up here. All right. Coming from Scif MUFC, 1997 alien investigator Jon Stewart has done a piece on Lou Elizondo he would like to share. My assessment after speaking to multiple people is he is a disinformation agent that cannot be trusted. It's sad. Yeah. It's one of those things, Mike, you just have to be careful who you're associated with, what they're talking about, and what they're asking to go ahead and get you to fund for them, because sometimes, Mike, this whole disclosure thing is a money grab more than anything. What do you call them? Grifters?
Yeah, that's one word for it, Thomas.
Yeah.
Yeah, making hateful comments like that without any evidence to back up or support it, it's not appropriate.
No, it's not, my
friend. I don't
friend.
agree with that.
Oh,
no.
neither do I. In another news piece coming in, let me get to it right now and bring it in. Here we go. Oh, no, not that one. Where'd it go? There you go. Video fold. Yeah, it's bigger. All right, let's get to it. A request was submitted today. This is 13 hours ago to the Japanese Ministry of Defense to establish a dedicated organization to gather and analyze UAP information. The news is being reported by several news outlets, but mostly by NHK, Japanese versions of PBS. This is a big step, Mike.
Yeah.
You know, granted, when they've brought this stuff up in if you want to call it Japan's version of Congress, they've laughed at it. They haven't taken it seriously. But this is a big step to go ahead and bring this stuff forward and potentially take the evidence that may have been seen over nuclear reactors like in Fukushima before the incident happened and after, and other sightings that have come together, and give it a way to go ahead and actually start talking about it. At least we've got another country out there who's not just trying to cover it up like goes on in Australia and other places and the United States, someone who wants to go ahead and potentially bring out the truth.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah, absolutely. Is there anything else here? Nope, not that one, not that one. Oh, this is a good one, my friend. We always love to cover ancient history on the what's going on, Mike. Zahi Hawass. Zahi Hawass.
Oh, no.
Oh, you know who Zahi Hawass is.
I do, yeah.
Oh, yeah. The guy from, if you want to call it, Egypt, that says the...
He was on Joe Rogan.
Oh, he was on Joe Rogan, but is the man who keeps on saying, oh, yeah, humans created the pyramids 3,000 years ago. And any kind of facts or information with regards to that is beyond people going ahead and creating these giant granite blocks and then somehow getting them 500 miles, 3,000 years ago, and to get these multi-ton blocks, like in the King's Chamber and other areas, to get them where the Great Pyramids were, he just fell over on his sword time and time again. And whenever they brought up the question about, where's the facts, where's the information? What was he saying? Oh, yeah, it's in my book. Joe Rogan went many times and kept on asking him, well, where's the information on the internet? And he was even contradicting himself back and forth. And it's nice to see someone like this get dissed as much as he did on Joe Rogan. One of my favorite episodes.
It was an interesting episode, I'll give you that.
Oh, yeah. Oh, anything else, Mike? Is there anything else we haven't covered? I think we've covered a lot of stuff in pretty good detail here.
I think we've covered everything that's been going on this week as a recap.
A
lot of interesting things. Good conversation, my friend. But I think that's the only thing I could think of off the top of my head at the moment.
Anything from the audience? Last call for questions from us. Put your question in all caps. Potentially anything from any questions for our friends in the back. Corporal Abe, what say you?
Just want to give a thanks and a shout out to my Disclosure Night community, my family, my military friends, some of the locals here where I am for helping me out in a sticky situation. I really appreciate it. And I love you guys for that. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're more than welcome for that, brother.
Love to see you happy.
Absolutely, absolutely. On that note, my friends, anything from the audience? Nothing from the audience about that. All right, let's go ahead and jump back into it. Oh, where is the soundboard? Let's get this up. I want to thank our audience for the wonderful super chats we've gotten today. Remember, if you haven't subscribed yet to Disclosure Tonight, we'd love to have you here as a regular in Disclosure Tonight. Give us a thumbs up or drop us a comment. It helps with the algorithm from YouTube. If you've been around, we'd love to go ahead and have you as a regular here in Disclosure Tonight. More importantly, I'm going to go ahead and thank everybody for your wonderful super chats today. Who am I talking about? Mr. Grimlock, thank you very much. Mr. Catfish 2100 once. Mr. Catfish 2100 twice. Charles Kerr. And Charles Kerr again. I guess he likes Mr. Firefly. Also want to thank Daryl Zernick, Mr. Live Long and Prosper. Mr. OK, Google, turn off all the lights. On that note. All right, I turn off my lights in the house. On that note, I also want to go ahead and thank everybody in the back who has been here, part of the conversation today. Wow. Who is in the back? I want to thank Alice W. Thanks for coming out today, Alice.
Had a great time, Thomas. It's always a good show.
Absolutely. Corporal Abe, appreciate your participation. Let's move down the line to Susan Ford. Thanks for being here, my dear lady.
Absolutely wonderful show, Thomas. Riveting. Wouldn't want to be anywhere else.
Thank you very much. And let's get back to Mike. Disclosure. Thank you for coming out, my friend. Mike? Uh-oh. We lost Mike for a second there.
No, I'm right.
All right. Thanks for coming out today, my friend. It's been a wonderful show.
Oh, it was a fun conversation. We covered a lot of great topics for the week. And, thank you for doing this with you still recovering from COVID, my friend.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I want to thank everybody for coming out in the audience. Thank you, Mike. Thank everybody in the back. And we'll see you soon, my friends. And as we usually say at the end of every broadcast of Disclosure Tonight, eyes open, no fear, be safe, everybody. But
go back to Party City where you belong.
Absolutely. We'll catch you on the flip side. Good night, everybody. Y'all come back now. Here. Take care. Bye-bye.